It's an early holiday. Happy return to the hill for Walker Bueller, huh? We are very excited. Our guy is back on the hill in LA on Monday night against the Marlins. We didn't want to talk to him the day before his start, so we're going to talk to him on Thursday for the Friday show, so you hear from him before he makes his much anticipated return to the hill. We also want to talk about a certain argument that you might have gotten into with a certain Just Baseball employee last night at the Mets game and who you saw at the Mets game last night. Quick minor league update, and of course, our hitters of the week, which is presented by Outlier. Jack Aram, Just Baseball show on Friday, May 3rd. Happy Star Wars Day Eve. It's presented by BetMGM, not Star Wars Day, the Just Baseball show. Let's get right into it. There was a certain article written by Mike Petriello, who I love, and I know
Well,
that
he's
you
awesome.
love.
No, he's amazing.
He is one of the best baseball writers we got going right now, but he fueled the flame of Colby Olson, who is our partnerships guy at Just Baseball. And it was a deep dive. He wrote it on April 26th, and I linked it here in the episode description, that really went into the Ted Williams home run ball. Did his red seat homer actually reach the red seat? 502 feet back in the 1940s. And you got heated about it, man.
Well, so I didn't know that we revisited this thing again. And Colby, I think, was more just he wasn't even really saying like it happened for sure, but he was just bringing up like, hey, there was a compelling argument made by one of the smartest minds we have in baseball right now, which is valid. But I'm not going to hear anything. I'm not hearing anything. But also, I did read it. I did come around and read it. And I will say, if you're going to try to make a case on something that I think had, in my opinion, had a 0% chance of happening, it's about as good of a case as you could make.
Correct.
And I think the thing that spurred it is what makes this a really funny conversation. It's cost us absolutely pulverizing a baseball and it not going anywhere near there, and him just saying no chance that happened. Of course, Red Sox fans, especially some of the older Red Sox fans, were not happy about that. And then Alex Cora has to come out and say like, no, he was saying it as a compliment for him. Like, no, he wasn't.
Let's
How do
spin
you
it.
even try
Let's
to
spin it as well as we can. This is manager coming to the rescue.
This is, I mean, look at a picture of Ted Williams, hero. He's a badass. He served and then came back, like flew planes, came back, one of the best hitters we've seen. But look at a picture of that guy. He is not hitting a ball 500 and whatever feet. It's just not happening. Especially back then when the ball was coming in at like 85 miles an hour. I don't know how hard the guys were throwing then. They definitely weren't throwing 98, and guys were not as big and strong as they are now, clipping balls, right on the barrel and putting it out. Like, I think they said it would have had to be 113 off the bat for him.
Yeah.
I don't see that frame producing 113. Like go Google pictures of Ted Williams. But no, I have more thoughts on that. But yeah, I'm just curious. I know you read it. Again, great job by Petriello. If you're going to make a case, this is as good as they can come. This topic, the old folklore, like Mickey Mantle hit it 600 feet. That too, like no, like I just drives me nuts.
Okay, so I was actually going to tell you that my favorite part of the article was the fact that it was merely written, like greenlit by anybody else, because only in baseball, only in this game, do we have a deep dive in 2024 on something that happened in the 40s and like trying to go back and prove if something actually happened, the baseball myth. And again, like Mike, I make Mike appointment reading whenever he puts something out. He is amazing. And I'm with you. Like he did as good a job as you possibly can convincing me that thing happened. But like the construction worker that was sitting in the red seat saying it hit him right in the crown of his head. Like are we
Yeah,
sure?
it's like there's a hole in the hat, and a Boston Globe writer said that it was right in that seat, and like it's one of the best Globe. Yeah. Also, like, is there enough room for a ball to like put a hole in your hat when your hat's on your head? Like you'd think the hat would just give.
Dude,
It wouldn't
I
just
don't
put a
know.
clean hole through it. But
I don't
beyond that, the argument's crazy. So it was because of the fact that they didn't have a press box back then. The jet stream was lower.
Yeah.
So you could get away with a line drive while also still having, hitting that jet stream.
And wind was harder. Yeah.
Wind was harder. And then they do have wind tracking back to then for some reason. And it was a high wind day. And if it was a gust up from the 20-mile-an-hour winds, right at the time that he hit the ball at a certain angle, it could have maybe, possibly gone that far and then hit that guy's hat. But also at that angle, how is it putting a hole in the top of his hat? Was he looking down? Like to me, the whole thing is ridiculous.
He was
But
probably
the
on his
fact that
phone,
like and
right?
like you have he must have been on his phone. Like I just I don't know. And I know people are gonna be like, oh, why are you always like riled up about things that don't matter? Let people have
Because
fun. The amount of
Colby is
times.
like convinced that it happened.
No, I don't know if he is or not. I think Red Sox Nation is though. Like if you don't push that, like it's like a tough look. Like people
It's
don't like it.
sacrilegious to
It's
not say that Teddy Ballgame hit it that far.
it's sacrilegious to pretend that like gravity didn't work for a little bit. Like I just don't understand. Like we have juiced up Miguel Sano, like legitimately jacked out of his mind, not like literally juiced, but maybe who knows, but like legitimately just crushing baseballs. And I think it was 495, and he was like, it definitely went further than whatever Ted hit, but I know they're not going to give it to me. Like Miguel Sano's the biggest human. They would have thought Miguel Sano was like an alien back then with how
Yeah.
big he is. Like guys just were not built like that. I think it's outrageous when David Ortiz is doing everything humanly possible to try to hit it by that chair and he can't. Like, just put it to bed. I
Well,
think it's
and
almost disrespectful to your modern GOAT, David Ortiz. Like
right.
Ted Williams was amazing, whether he hit the ball 900 feet and defied every law of physics that we know or not. Like I think it's
Poppy
funny how
tried
we
in
keep
BP
repushing
with
it
an
though.
aluminum bat. He tried with an aluminum bat and he couldn't get to it. So you've got quotes from David Ortiz and Mo Vaughn here saying that they couldn't go and grab it. Like, dude, I mean, I agree with you. Like, hey, and no disrespect to Ted Williams. Obviously, he's maybe the greatest hitter of all time. But like it's crazy. And I loved the article. I loved the article because we went that deep into something that in the grand scheme really doesn't
You know
matter,
what?
but it's baseball folklore, man. You're
Well,
right.
the baseball season's too long. That's what this stuff tells me. Like
Yeah.
we are already in like the span of talking about these things. But no, the other thing is I think that would really put it to bed. Get Shohei Ohtani there, please.
Yeah.
Like that guy hit balls that I've never seen go anywhere. And like I'm sorry, even though now you have a press box that's blocking the wind that did make a difference. You know, Wade Boggs talked about it, and that's something that was mentioned in the article. Like once they built more infrastructure, like there was definitely less cheapies, as he was saying.
Yeah.
But I also think if you have Shohei Ohtani swinging away as hard as he can, and he's not near that chair,
Give him a BESR bat too.
like at that point, I don't think the difference between Ted Williams then and Shohei now is wind and yeah, basically just wind. So yeah, I'm just gonna be annoying and keep being like the that didn't happen guy. But the Mickey Mantle 565, like
Okay.
the reason why it bothers me a little bit is I think it takes away from like what these guys are doing now because we're seeing guys do things that we have never seen. And it's just outrageously incredible. And we actually have the technology to track it. And now it's always going to be like, oh, well, yeah, but back
Yeah, but
then,
Mickey hit one 565.
yeah, yeah, it's like the equivalent of like, oh, yeah, like I have a girlfriend, but she's from my camp and,
She goes to a
you'll
different
never meet her.
school. Yeah, you
She
wouldn't
goes to a
know her.
different school, you'll never meet, you wouldn't know her. Like that's basically what it is to me. So I'm out on that. But great piece. It's fun. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
But also I love that Casa is just kind of like just stepping on his own feet again, like
Mhm.
just saying things that create a whole nother like conversation. But
I,
yeah, I mean, if Casas can't do it, like when Casas was in high school, they had to put up extra netting in American Heritage because he was pummeling houses across the street when he was like 16 years old. That kid should be able to hit it where somebody hit it in the 30s or 40s, but no human sense.
yeah.
He was an alien life form. No, that's why they froze his brain, right? Or froze his head. He was an alien life form, so we had to preserve that. And almost 100 years later, no one's been able to do it. It's amazing.
I feel like whenever we talk about this stuff, we got to go with like the 1940s radio announcer voice. Like I heard Mickey Mantle hit one 565, like that
Yeah,
kind of thing. So, yeah, whenever we get into that old baseball folklore, let me know and I'll prep the 1940s radio voice for that.
I love
Jumping
it.
back to present day minus 2 days. On Wednesday night, you saw a 1-0 game in Queens, and you got your first live look at Shota Imanaga. How was that, man?
Oh, I mean, look, he's no Walter Johnson, but it was really
He's
cool to
no
watch.
Lefty Grove, but
Yeah, no, I mean, we had a pretty cool vantage point where like you're right offset to the first base side, and
did you
it,
count the IVB?
Yeah, I was just watching, but you actually could really see the trajectory out of his hand, and just how unique it is from that release. Because we were like, right. By the way, use the game time code
Yeah.
because we used it because we were able to. Basically, I'm using it any way I can. And being able to use it to go to this game, like flash deal popped up, saved $20, and we were sitting like fourth row. I think we got in there at like 60 ahead for three
Damn.
of us. It was me, Colby, and Peter. We had a great time, minus me just yelling at Colby for like 5 minutes
Yeah,
about
about
the
a Teddy
gravity
Ballgame
not
stuff.
existing for June, or whenever that home run was hit. But it was really cool to watch it in real time. The way that he can throw off hitters' timing, I don't think you can fully appreciate that on TV too. That little hitch,
Mhm.
and it almost looks like he's looking at you when you're sitting on that first base side because of how he's able to hold it. Also, just the feel to manipulate the baseball and things like that is what really stands out to me. And that was what was cool with Imanaga. He was just kind of putting it wherever he wanted. And that's the one thing, he didn't always have the command. So to see the command the way it is right now, like, he went through spurts where he was walking guys in Japan, 7 innings, one walk in this outing. Like it just seems like the command has even become more of a strength for him, as he just has so much confidence in that heater. And it's such a unique one as well.
Yeah. No, I that was fun to watch on TV. I couldn't imagine being there and seeing the fastball take off from your vantage. And from a breaking ball pitcher, your vantage would not be great because you couldn't see the horizontal bend and all that. But from a guy that is so north-south, so vertical with that fastball splitter combo, that's probably the best seat in the house, more so than right behind home plate.
It was pretty cool to see, and also the ending was hilarious. Baseball needs to figure out the block and home plate thing
I
first of
don't
all.
I so I looked at the images that are in the rule book for what is blocking the plate, and I couldn't figure out if he was blocking the plate.
I don't know what it is anymore. And some people might say the hand got in there. It was kind of hard to tell too because he was in the way of the plate, but he also was catching the ball and making a tag. I just, if we're gonna see it really disrupt a big game and an important game, and it's gonna be on some subjective BS, and that's gonna suck. Because like
Baseball's got a Des Bryant on their hand if that happens.
I think baseball needs to minimize as much subjective stuff as possible. And the check swing is already, I think, the most subjective call in sports. And we saw it rear its head. What was it, last postseason on a
Yeah.
check swing that, they said he went around, and you could have made the case either way. And I think that ended the game. That's the one thing. Like, if I want that to be the only subjective, like truly, truly subjective thing in the sport. And right now, I think blocking home plate is a really important spot because we're not deciding what's a strike or what's a ball. We're deciding what's a run and what's not. I mean, that's the most important call that you're going to have on a field,
Yeah.
and it's subjective. That is concerning to me because I'm waiting for it. It's not going to be a problem until it's a problem. And I think it's going to be on a big stage in an important moment, and it's going to be really stupid.
You could say it's officially a problem after Wednesday night.
Yeah, I thought it was funny though. So like, I mean, seeing
It's
Mets
not
fans
that big
just
of a problem.
Mets fans didn't even understand what was happening. Like, I didn't even get it at first. Like, wait, so did they call him out? And they said no, it's not. It wasn't blocking, whatever. Mets fans weren't even like, they were shocked. They couldn't even boo because they were still trying to process what happened. And then everyone's walking out and they're like, oh, this would never happen to the Yankees. Blah, blah, blah. And it was just everything I wanted. So it was fun.
The view on TV, it looked like Pete's hand was above the plate and was
Yes.
making its way down when the tag was applied, but the block was the thing that threw everybody for a loop, I think. And again, I still can't wrap my head around it. And I watched that replay 20, 25 times on Thursday morning. A couple more things before we get to Bueller. Want to check in on Junior Caminero and maybe some other prospects that are jumping out to you. Junior, in his last 3 games entering play on Thursday with AAA Durham, he's back healthy. 7 for 11, 2 doubles, 4 homers, 7 driven in. So he's got 6 extra base hits, 4 of which homers in his last 3 games. And he's gone opposite field. He's hit a ball, 110 to leave the yard. He's as ready as we can possibly see somebody for an offense that is a non-starter right now in terms of competing in the American League East.
He couldn't be more dialed in right now. I mean, to see him just back healthy is great, but to see him doing what he's doing right now is insane. His home run swing yesterday, so it'd be 2 days ago, as you all are listening to this, he hit two, by the way. Actually, both were absurd. Both were balls, by the way. The first one, I believe, was a ball down and in, a cutter at like 90 from Ray Kerr, and it was somehow golfed out at 110. Then the second home run was a also a cutter that was left up. And this pitch, dude, like not only was it up, it was out. It was probably like 6 inches up and 6 inches out. It was a pitch that should have never even been considered to be swung at. But I think for Caminero, he's like, oh, this pitch sucks. I can get to it. And he crushes it the other way. The fact that he has this otherworldly power is one thing, but to also have the bat to ball and just the ability to hit pitches outside of the zone with so much authority is really impressive. I mean, the Rays need a spark, and he's just sitting there in Durham. I know that they wanted him to probably just get his legs back under him a little bit after the injury. And when you get to the big leagues, it's pure adrenaline, and you're gonna bust it down the line a little bit harder. So I can understand giving him another week maybe, but there is no reason for him to be in Durham past mid-May. Absolutely none. Zippo doesn't make any sense, especially with the way the team's playing right now.
And you find a spot for him. I know that Isaac Paredes has been one of the lone bright spots for Tampa to this point, but if Paredes has to play third, like, just DH Caminero, get him in the lineup. He'll figure out a way to be productive. So that is on Kevin Cash. That falls on Kevin Cash. That falls on Eric Neander. Figure out the best version of the roster with Junior Caminero on it. Because at this point, what are we doing? Running out the same assortment of guys when you are near or at the bottom of the AL East right now. So it's a tough one because there's a really good player at his position at the major league level, but you need to bend a little
Figure it
bit
out
for that.
You got to figure it out.
Other prospects that you've seen?
AJ Smith-Shawver looks like he's settling back in, man. Ironically, it was been dominant the last 3 starts, but Junior Caminero hit 115 off of him, which is just a testament again to Caminero. But the command has come back for Smith-Shawver, and this has to be great news for the Braves. They're not necessarily desperate for him right now. The pitching's been very solid, but just you're always going to need pitching. And so just to see him trending back in this direction is great. His last 3 starts, 14 2/3 innings, a 2.45 ERA in AAA, 15 punch outs, and really the only damage coming on 2 home runs. It's been nice to just see him settled back in and filling up the zone because we know how talented he is. And we've talked about just that rushing to the big leagues and how it's, probably stunted his development some. The fastball has been playing phenomenally. The splitter that he has added is gross, and that's been the difference for him. Is the secondary command hasn't been there. Now over his last 3 starts, landing the splitter for a strike at a 72% clip. Slider command still needs to be better, but it just shows you here, even with the slider not being there for him, the splitter and the fastball is enough for him to, have quality starts out there. And if the slider comes along, I think we can see him back up in the big leagues the second the Braves need somebody. But it's an exciting trend to just see him throwing well again and makes the Braves that much deeper.
That was the precursor that I wanted to almost combat you with. It's when the Braves need him. When will they need him? Because Elder's been good.
Yeah, it's just the inevitable aspect of why pitching rotations keep thinning out randomly during the season. Yeah. I think that's the only time they'll really need him. But I could see later in the year, like he could be a really nice long relief, multi-inning relief kind of guy that is just nice to have on the roster and help you down the stretch.
Again, or you go 6 during the month of July and August to give these guys a breather. Sale's 36, Morton's like 40. I'm sure they're okay with an additional day of rest.
You'd think so. You would think so. And the last one is Kyle Manzardo. We've talked about him as a guy that needs to get called up, but the Guardians are playing pretty darn well. Manzardo just keeps raking, and I don't really want to watch him play AAA baseball anymore. Like I just want to see him get up to the big leagues and get an opportunity because he's just been absolutely dialed in. It just seems like he's figured out who he is as a hitter. There was a point in which he was trying to elevate more and kind of just tap into more power because the hit tool was always there, but then it was resulting in a little bit more swing and miss and too many pop-ups. And now he's kind of found that middle ground, and he's just been a monster. Over his last 11 games, an OPS of 15.27, 7 home runs, 7 strikeouts. He's crushing baseballs. He's not striking out. He's walking. I want to see this guy in the big leagues. Another situation, though, where does he fit in? I think you can figure out a way for him to fit in a little bit easier with some of the names that they have up there right now. But I also understand that it limits them a little bit defensively.
Can I tell you one of my favorite Twitter check-ins right now is Kyle's dad. Paul
Really?
Manzardo, yeah, Paul Manzardo, since spring training began, is tweeting every couple of days or so. He's retweeting everything about his kid. And listen, if my kid was on the cusp of the big leagues like Kyle Manzardo, I'd be retweeting everything too. But he quote tweets and says, "Keep grinding, Kyle!" Exclamation point all the time. Like every other day, it's "Keep grinding, Kyle." And I'm going to start saying that. Keep grinding, Kyle. So I'm in. Whenever we do a Kyle Manzardo update, whether it be on the Just Baseball show or the call up, I'm gonna I'm gonna judge him on a grind meter, 1 to 10. How hard is he grinding?
He's
And right now the answer is 10.
he's grinding at a 10 right now. And then Bradish is back. Did you guys talk about that last
Oh,
episode?
speaking of Kyle's, yeah, Bradish is back. No, we didn't. We mentioned Means was back, but Grayson hit the IL. Kyle Bradish officially returns. He's going to have a start under his belt by the time you listen to this. That is
Yeah.
so welcome with Grayson hitting the shelf, man.
He's carving through the Yankees as we speak. So that's pretty fun. 4 innings, 3 hits, 1 run so far, 3 Ks. Doing a pretty good job against obviously a great lineup. I mean, that it sucks because I was so excited to say, oh wow, you add Bradish to this fold. They're gonna be nasty.
Yeah,
But the silver lining, as you said, you glue somebody to be able to plug somebody back in that can fill most of that gap, if not more, with the way that he threw last year. It's nice to see Bradish back, and especially Means too. It was a long journey for him to get back.
for sure. We're going to wrap with our quick outlier segment before we get over to Walker in anticipation of his season debut and his return, his official return to the big leagues after undergoing TJ in 2022. This segment is brought to you by Outlier, as always, and we're going to run through the 5 hottest hitters of the past week. Peter typically does by WRC plus. I'm going to go by OPS, and I set a minimum of 20 plate appearances, and it spit out a bunch of guys with like 25 plate appearances, 30 plate appearances. Do you have any guesses for who's in the top 5 this week? Who's been going off this week?
In OPS,
Yeah.
who's been going off
Top
this?
3 are all NL West.
All NL West?
All NL West.
Hmm.
I've got 3 NL West, 2 AL Central.
3 AL or okay. Hmm. This is like one of the harder. I feel like there's just not someone that I'm seeing just like pop up on highlights all the time because that's
Number
usually
one,
how it becomes pretty easy.
number
So you
one,
said
you're gonna laugh.
how many NL
100%.
West? Sorry.
3 NL West, 2 AL Central.
Is our King Wensiel Perez on there?
No, he is not.
Damn, he homered twice the other day though.
Sorry.
Riley Green has to be on there.
Riley Green is near the top, but he is
Oh,
not there.
um,
Cleveland. Cleveland is
Cleveland.
4.
Cleveland has the fourth one.
Yep. Minnesota has the 5th one.
Hmm. Cleveland. It's not
Willie
J Ram.
Castro is 7th. It's not Willie Castro, but he's 7th right now.
Is it like Jose Miranda?
No, it's Ryan Jeffers of the Twins. Ryan Jeffers is number 5 right now. He's hitting 375 over the last 7 games, slashing 375, 484, 750. So he's got a 1234 OPS, 5 extra base hits. Cleveland. Who have we talked about all year, man?
Quan.
Stephen Kwan hitting 417 with 2 triples, a double, and a homer, a 1250 OPS over his last 6 games. He's the guy.
That's insane. That's insane.
I love him.
What other division we got?
We got 3 in the NL West in the top 3. Arizona has number 3.
Arizona has number 3.
One of the most underrated players in baseball.
Ketel Marte.
No. He's properly rated after the last postseason.
Yeah, that's fair enough. One of the most underrated players in baseball. Now I'm just going to answer things and it's going to be like, make it sound like I
Maybe
think
the
they're
most
underrated.
underrated first baseman in all of baseball.
So Walker's still going, huh?
Christian Walker, over his last 6 games, has a 1290 OPS, a double,
Holy
3
crap.
homers, 5 driven in, hitting 350 in his last 6.
Wow.
Number 2 is a Dodger and a guy who has been hitting since he got it back.
I mean, hitting since he got it back.
He's got nothing but hits since he got his bag, and he got his bag very recently.
Why am I so slow? Oh, Will Smith.
Will
Okay.
Smith, 5 games for Will Smith. He is 8 for 22. That's 364. But of his 8 hits, 6 for extra bases, 3 doubles, 3 homers, 6 driven in, He's got a 1294 OPS for the week. And number one, think about like who you would least expect in San Diego.
Oh, Jurickson Profar.
Jurickson Profar is hitting 519. He's 14 for 27 in his last 7 games. He's got a 1367 OPS on the week. 2 doubles, 2 homers, 6 driven in. He's punched out 1 time in 29 plate appearances this week.
Dude, he's got an in-zone contact rate of 98%.
Like, shout out Profar, man.
He's walking as much as he's punching. Like something clicked for Profar, clearly.
He's kicking ass. Hey, I'm
Love
wearing
it.
merch for the first time in a long time. I've got the Adidas Polo on, which is so sick. Aram has the athletic long sleeve, which is awesome. So we're going to do the merch plug right now. Save you from that at the very end. But without further ado, the man of the weekend. Here's Walker Buehler.